is Sav Draws, and today we're going to be doing another OC Review Saturday, and today we're going to be reviewing Sam by Alien Astronaut, and we're going to have Gary read the bio, and then I'm going to have a discussion with you guys about the OC. So Gary, just go on, get right to it.
Shout out to me, the most important person in this video. Name Sam. Nicknames: Sam Edgelord, Sammy. Age 11. Date of birth the 6th of June 2006. Species alien, human. Height 5 foot 1 inch. Gender, agender. Sex, agender. Pronouns, any. Sexuality, asexual aromantic. Relationship status, single and will never mingle. Occupation NA. Current location from Colorado, from space probably. Personality, energetic, lazy, outgoing sometimes, rude, awkward. Backstory: one day Sam awoke in a tree. They had no idea where they were or what was happening. All they knew was that they were suddenly on the ground with a huge headache. They started wandering around. They found some clothes that they thought looked pretty than the ones they had on and put them on. They walked around more. It wasn't strange to see Cyclops where Sam was, so no one made a big deal about them, but it was extremely strange to see horns. Sam started being a little self-conscious about the horns and wouldn't stop looking around until they had something to cover them. They found a tall red hat from what seemed to be a costume store and went with it. Now they just roam around Colorado looking for things to do.
Alright, so now that we have the bio written and the picture you see now is the OC, obviously, I'm gonna start off with the looks of the character as usual and go to the bio and so on and so forth. The first thing that I see that is kind of confusing with this OC is the thing that draws me to it is that it does have no mouth, but yet it does, because you see it on the side. It's like it's the mouth, but it's also the eye, and it's kind of confusing because they speak but you can't hear them, and it's also their eye. The anatomy makes no sense to me, mainly because if it's its eye, how is it also its mouth? How would it, do you just shove things in the eye and then it just goes through the pupil and then it chews it up? Or does the mouth move? Is the mouth different from the eye? Is the eye just like a cover or a mask to the mouth? Does it like roll back to the back of his head and then it shows its mouth? I am so confused. Another thing that speaks out to me for the looks of this character is that the line art is green. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, Sav, that's an artistic choice, and I'm like, yes, it is an artistic choice. I understand that, but if you're going for a reference, you might want to choose like a color that won't really interfere with the color palette, unless it's supposed to be green, like his being is like, or has an aura of green or something like that. The line art kind of throws me off, and it's like, is that part of his color palette? It kind of just messes with me a little bit, especially if you just want the reference image for that character. A lot of people will confuse the line art for part of the color palette, kind of like what I just did. And I understand that if he has green eyelashes and something, if you want to incorporate that and make that green, but it just kind of throws me off a bit. But that's just my personal little tidbit of info. Of course, you can argue and say that was an artistic choice, which is fine. I really do like the design of the character. I think that the eye is very cute and the whole idea of it is very adorable, and the stylistic choice of that character is really cute, and just the art style itself is really nice for the character. Again, the only thing that really concerns me about the looks of this character is the anatomy portion of how the mouth and eye work together. Other than that, I feel like it's a solid character concept. Maybe even move the mouth if you want to a different place on the body that's hidden. For example, you can maybe have it on like the chest or the stomach or wherever, but that's just me throwing out different ideas. You don't have to take them, obviously, but that's just me giving a few ideas that I had. Overall, the color palette of the character seems really calm and collected, which I really don't mind. I think that it really blends in if it was in a crowd with people. So yeah, overall, the look of the character seems really cool. I like the color palette, the toned down greens and the browns and the blue. I really also like that you add a little bit of red in there. Maybe looks a little bit more brown, but also the fact that you did add red kind of makes it a complementary pair, which it looks really well put together. So yeah, let's move on to the bio, and that's when we're going to talk a little bit more about what I want to talk about with this character. The looks seem pretty decent. The fact that it is a list bio, and again, I've talked to you guys in the last video about how I don't really like list bios, but it does get the point across, so I'm not gonna judge this person for it. The first thing that I see here is the species when it says alien human. What I would want to say is that if you have an original idea for the character concept, then you might want to create an original name for it. If not, you just want to say Cyclops. It makes it seem like you're putting in more thought in the character than just labeling it as an alien slash human, if that makes sense. And now I want to mention, before we get into this next part of me talking about the gender and stuff, I do want you guys to know that if this part has no correlation to the story whatsoever, then you could just completely ignore what I'm just about to say. It's mainly just my opinion and what I thought at the time would be interesting to talk about, which you can incorporate into the story or not. If it has no correlation or anything to do with the story whatsoever, it's fine to just leave it out. What also intrigues me is that it is agender and asexual, which means that it doesn't have a gender and it's not attracted to anyone, which I completely find fine for a character like this. The only thing that comes to mind though when I think about it is how would the character reproduce with other characters of that species. For example, if it's a species, it's probably not going to be the only one of that species. If they are agender, do they self-reproduce, kind of like plants, where they just pop out a little clone of themselves? If so, how would that work? I might be going too in thought and in detail about that, but it is a thing to think about when you're creating a character like this, mainly because people will think about it, and I'm not just going to be the only one who thinks that. But again, that's probably just me, and you can argue that you are saying that it doesn't need to reproduce and it's living forever, blah blah blah, but you know what I mean. Also, why did you put occupation there if it's gonna be NA or not applicable? Why would you put that in at all? I honestly think you should at least take that out, because if it has nothing to do with the story or has nothing to do with the fact that it doesn't have a job, why put it in there? Did you just copy and paste the list from a different thing? Because again, that's not really thinking about your character, that's just filling out a list. Another thing that comes to mind when I see the personality is when it says energetic, lazy, outgoing, rude, awkward. Now, those things don't come to mind when I see this character. I usually think of a quiet person, someone who wants to blend in, someone who doesn't want to speak out, someone who just wants to stay in the shadows. And when you're thinking about the personality, whenever someone wears something, it usually means that's a saying about them and how they are and what they like. Does this character like dull colors? Does this character like skeleton leggings and the red hat, and do they think that goes good together? Because honestly, girl, the fashion police is gonna come and steal that shit away, because the fact that they're wearing skeleton leggings underneath their jorts. Now, going back to the backstory, this kind of bothers me mainly because that it wouldn't normally be like this in the modern world, and that's kind of what you're going for, is what I can see anyway. If you're setting this in a real world, no one's gonna be like, oh yeah, Cyclops, that's normal. Not everyone would focus on the horns because anyone can wear horns. They're gonna focus on the fact that it has one giant eyeball. And if it's a fictional world, is there no other Cyclopses around? Is there aliens on that universe? Is there other aliens on that planet that they know of and it's kind of the norm, kind of like Rick and Morty, where that one episode where all the aliens lived on Earth, so everybody kind of knew aliens were a thing? Just context in the universe that they are in makes it seem a lot more normal compared to if it was the real world. Also, the fact that they woke in a tree, have no idea where they were, who they are. I understand that's a good plot point for starting out a story, but I honestly think it'd be more interesting to figure out what happened, and that can be part of the story, is that his entire story is him finding out who he is and why he's there, and not just, oh well, he's just gonna roam around Colorado looking for things to do. Like, wouldn't you want to know who you are and why you're somewhere where you don't even know, why there's a bunch of people around you that look nothing like you, why you have horns, why you are a fucking Cyclops? Wouldn't you want to know these things if you were in that situation? Anyway, those are my thoughts about the whole situation. Again, it's not a terrible OC, but it could use some improvement. Thank you guys so much for watching OC Saturday. I hope you guys liked this video and poke that like button if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and you can have that notification, whatever, bell, whatever. I don't give a shit. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching again. Bye.